Last night, someone in a group chat sent around a YouTube link of the last 7 minutes of Game 7 of the NBA Finals. I couldn't help. I watched the whole thing, and it made me miss basketball. How about you? Do you miss it?
Do miss it. You know, we had so many things to get us through after basketball technically ended. The Thunder won the title, then there was the parade, the celebration. There was a whole rookie draft, a Sam Presti presser. There was Summer League. There were contract extensions. There was something that seemed like every single day for Thunder fans. And now it's like the true end of the season. And I've been going back over the last several days and watching like Game 4 and Game 5 of the Nuggets series because those were like close, intense swing games. I watched Game 4, especially the end of Game 4 against the Pacers. I need to go back and watch Game 7 against the Pacers, though. I haven't done that. I need to relive it as well.
Welcome back to the Daily Thunder podcast. I'm John Napier, publisher of Daily Thunder, and I'll be your host today. Alongside me is Daily Thunder beat writer Brandon Rahbar. Brandon, how you doing today?
I am doing well. I'm feeling a little bit sick, and I'm just blaming it on the lack of basketball. You know, if basketball is life and basketball is gone, like my body is like, you know, trying to figure out what to do with itself, I guess.
We are in that period now because Summer League is over. There is no basketball being played in the NBA right now, and we are just now waiting for training camp. So I kind of get it. You're getting a little bit of rejection from your body, like I'm not getting the nutrients I need to survive.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. My body has been fueled for you know, like months and months now by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you know, buckets and JDub defense and Lou Dort moonballs. And yeah, it's missing it. So it's trying to figure out what to do.
Well, there is still plenty to talk about, even though we are in that period of no NBA basketball being played. We're going to run through Summer League, the incredible extensions for JDub, Chet Holmgren, and kind of where the roster looks headed into next season. And then I wanted to take some time and revisit your article on Daily Thunder of the 25 statements made with extreme confidence. And let's see how you did now being able to look back at the 24-25 season. But let's start with the transactions. So first, Shai signed a significant extension. He did, and I think we talked about this on the last pod, he had a couple of options whether he did it this year or next year, but that set the stage for what would come next. Would we see extensions for JDub and Chet? We got Chet Holmgren's extension first, and we didn't get an immediate, response on JDub's extension. Why do you think there was a delay between the two announcements?
I've seen different theories. I've seen the theory that, Chet was doing his pro basketball camps and JDub had the wrist surgery and, he was gone for that and then wasn't able to sign because of the wrist. There was a small difference in the contract extensions, both of them very team-friendly, by the way. No escalators at all in the Chet contract. And in the JDub contract, it looks like there's just a 1% escalator if he makes third-team All-NBA, a 2% escalator if he makes second-team All-NBA, and then the typical 5% escalator if he makes first-team All-NBA or MVP or wins Defensive Player of the Year. So I don't know if, small negotiations or anything like that were ongoing. I don't know. It was the end of the season. There was so much going on like we talked about. For us, imagine those guys and everything that was going on. I just don't think that there's any sort of grand, answer. I just think that there is, the guys were busy. They got it done. And the future looks incredibly bright for the Thunder because the big three are locked down.
Yeah, that's right. So Chet's contract was a 5-year, about a $240 million contract that's based upon kind of cap estimates. He's going to get 25% of the cap starting in 26-27. There is no player option on his contract for the final year. JDub also signed a 5-year extension. His has those escalators, and so the potential total value of his contract is higher than Chet's. But like Chet, no player option in the 5th year. So both, I think, really good team-friendly contracts, as you note, because both SGA, JDub, and Chet are now locked in long term, and we're going to see each of those guys with the Thunder through, is it at least the 29-30 season?
I actually believe it's the 30-31 season.
That's right. Even better.
Which is even better. And like you said, the fact that these guys signed pretty much right away, no drama, no question marks about will these guys, stay in OKC long term, no ESPN specials. Like the fact that the Thunder win the title and then in a matter of a couple of weeks, Thunder fans get to see this young 26, 24, and 23-year-old core stay together long term and make this team a contender in OKC for 6 more years. That's just incredible. I mean, it's so rare for things like that to happen in today's NBA. Not have to worry about whether or not these guys are going to stay. Like the fact that Shea, he could have waited the extra year, taken the bigger contract, up front and waited. But then, Thunder fans get a little nervous, like, ooh, why is he waiting? Like, is he going to sign next season and all those things? He just did it right away. He signed right away. No drama. An extra 4 years on top of the 2 that he has left on his current contract. I just think these are great times we're living in for Thunder fans right now.
Yeah, and it feels so good because the last time the Thunder were in the finals, of course, they lost in 2012. But they had what they thought was a big 3. It didn't last in October where there was that James Harden trade. But now here we are sitting in July and knowing that the core of SGA, JDub, and Chet are going to be around for years and years to come through the prime of their careers.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you have a big 3 this young that is not even in their collective prime yet. Like Shea is just now entering his prime. He just turned 27 after the season ended. Like the prime of NBA players is supposed to be like anywhere between like 27 and 31 years old. I mean, like Chet and Dub are going to improve. They're going to get better, and they've already won a championship with this big 3. And then, of course, you add in the role players, some of them on really great contracts, all these guys on rookie contracts. You got all these first-round picks and second-round picks coming up that you can build around. But when you have a big 3 like this, that, by the way, fit together so well, as great as that Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden big 3 was, and as talented as they were, all of them MVPs. So I'm never going to say anything bad about those guys. But if you're just talking about team fit, this team fit between these 3 guys is about as perfect as you can get.
Yeah, and this will segue into something that I wanted to talk about. I didn't mention it at the top, but the commitment to SGA, JDub, and Chet is approaching $1 billion in potential outlay if JDub hits his marks and stuff like that, which is not a dissimilar number to the amount of money that the city is going to spend to construct a brand new arena for the Thunder. And you saw the unveiling of kind of the models of the arena. What were your initial thoughts?
Oh, I think it looks fantastic. I think it looks so sharp. I'm incredibly excited about this new arena. You never know what these renderings are going to look like, and you kind of imagine, I think, in your own head, like what you would do or what you want it to look like. But I just think that the look and the feel of it is so sharp. I love all the glass, and don't worry, it's not going to be hot. Like I've read about it, like the kind of glass that they're using, and like so you don't have to worry about like the heat coming through or anything like that. And as far as like tornadoes and storms like that, like they're using like I don't remember. I'm not an architect. I can't remember the names now. It's been like a week, but they're using high tech stuff, so it's going to be safe. It's going to be fine. It's not going to be too hot. I just think it looks incredibly sharp. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised at how much glass there was. But the more I think about it and the more I can imagine being in the arena, looking out, you've got the park, you've got the downtown Oklahoma City. It looks like they're going to redevelop the site where the Paycom Center currently is. And it is really neat to integrate it into the downtown and that redeveloped area. in such a way that you really, when you're inside, you can see the community. And it being kind of a complete circle like that, I think was really, really neat. Especially the lights at the top. I think that would really make it look cool when you've got those aerial views. Hopefully when the Thunder are in the finals, when the arena opens, those aerial shots of the city with the lights on the arena would look incredibly cool. But I did question the glass. That is a lot of glass.
It is a lot of glass. I guess I like it just because it makes it look so great. And like when you're driving by or when you're walking by, be able to like look into the arena and just see the atmosphere. I just think it's going to make for such a great, addition to downtown Oklahoma City that you kind of build around. Like, I think downtown Oklahoma City, by the way, it looks so remarkably different than it did, 20 years ago, and it just keeps improving. And I think building around this arena is just going to be such a great milestone for the city. I just think, like, when you look at like the courses and the fact that, if you're on the main course, you can look up and see everybody in the upper course. And if you're at the upper course, you can look down and see everybody. Like, they said this is the first time it's ever going to be done. Like, it's just this open arena. I like the fact that it's going to be kind of like the Pacers Bowl, where it's going to be really steep and closer, like the seats closer to the court, where you feel like you're kind of on top of the court, which is like a college atmosphere. So I know a lot of people were upset about less seats, and I understand that, but there's a strategy behind it. And Loud City, it's not going to lose the luster of how loud it is. Like, the Pacers crowd were notoriously the second loudest crowd in the playoffs this year, and I went to those games, and they were really, really loud. Loud City was still louder, but it's going to have about the same seating capacity probably as the Pacers. But the way that the Pacers arena is built and the fans are on top of the court, like, that provides like this acoustic feel. I think it's going to be great. I'm really, really excited about it.
I'm really excited about it too. And the Paycom has been a serviceable arena, but as far as like an iconic arena that when you see it on TV, it feels like the kind of place an NBA championship team should play in. We haven't ever had that. And now we will. And I think that's what's exciting, because it is a unique looking arena. It doesn't look like any of the other recently completed arenas out there, especially with the circle and the glass. And I'm excited to have an iconic landmark that this team can play in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, with this team winning a championship, it's like this season has been kind of the dream season for Thunder fans when you look at it. And to get the announcement of this arena, the renderings right after they win a championship, and there's a parade and all those things. And to know that not only do you have a championship in the bag now, like, they're going to raise banners, and now you know what that arena is going to look like. Like, to get that, I just think it's going to be great. You're right. This championship team, this team that has the potential to be a dynasty, to move into an arena like this, kind of like mid-term, is going to be such a great feeling.
100%. And I think, to your point, there have been so many good things that have happened in the last few months as, for the team and as Thunder fans. You have the championship, you have the parade. The draft, I think, was successful for the team. And then you have these announcements of the extensions for SGA, JDub, and Chet. And then you move into Summer League, and you get to see Topic, who has been sort of redshirting in this last season, and it was exciting for Thunder fans to get to see what he could do against, quasi NBA competition. Seeing him in some live basketball here in the United States. So that's where we want to go next. But, I want to put a bookmark, to our listeners that in a future episode, I think we're going to get a little bit more into the cap situation, because the Thunder have committed quite a bit of money to 3 players, and it would be worthwhile to look into what that means for the future of the team, especially under the current CBA and the different levels and the aprons. But let's talk Summer League. So both Mitchell and Topic played in Summer League, and also the second round pick, Brooks Barnheiser. They started out in Salt Lake City, so they played, I think, 3 games in Salt Lake City to get kickstarted there. But initial impressions, first game or so watching Topic, what were your thoughts?
I truly thought that after this guy misses 15 months because of an ACL injury, and this is his first basketball action in over a year, and only being 19 years old, and playing against, NBA talent for the first time in his career, I thought he looked really good. The playmaking is what pops. The playmaking is what made him an elite prospect in the first place. He was going to be a top 5 pick before the injury. Only reason the Thunder were able to draft him was because of that injury. His reads are so advanced. His passing, some of the passes he makes, like game one from the jump. And if you want to look, we talked about this with Josh Giddey a lot, like all the potential assists from great passes that didn't end up converting because, the guys missed the shots. Topic has as many of those highlights as he did actual highlights if you go back and watch the tape. So the playmaking was there. I thought he looked healthy, which was, obviously very important. Like, another thing that made him a great prospect was his explosiveness, his first step and driving to the rim, and that was there. Now, he didn't always finish, but he got there, which is the more important thing. He finished at an elite rate overseas as an 18-year-old, and I'm not worried about that. I think he still will. The shooting splits were up and down. There were some good games. There were some rough games. But I think overall, when you look at the context of him playing for the first time in 15 months, coming back from the injury, seeing what made him an elite prospect, the playmaking and the drives were there. I think it's really, really encouraging.
Yeah, definitely the playmaking was there. And I think, there were some nerves and him adjusting to the game a little bit in Salt Lake City. I think his performance got better kind of overall when he went to Las Vegas. He led Summer League Las Vegas, the NBA 2K26 Summer League, in assists. And while in his first 3 games in Salt Lake City, he was having 5.7 turnovers per game, he got that down to 3.7 turnovers per game in Vegas. So I think he's adjusting, he's calibrating, and his debut was a real exhibition of why the Thunder drafted him and why I think there's a lot of optimism about him being a playmaker for this team next season.
Yeah, and there were so many passes that didn't convert that were such high-level reads. If you watch his highlights, you're going to see some great passes, some great playmaking, but you won't see all the ones that he passed and they didn't end up being a bucket. But if that's Shea on the other end, or if it's JDub, or if it's Chet or Hartenstein finishing a lob, things look even better. So if you're looking at a guy who was a top 5 draft talent, this kind of playmaking, this kind of pressure on the rim and getting to the free throw line, which he did at a good rate in Vegas as well, adding that to this team off the bench, there is a real role for a bench playmaker and creator on this team, despite winning the title. They didn't really play A.J. Mitchell in the playoffs except for sparingly. So you add both Topic and A.J. Mitchell, and I'm fascinated to see going forward which one of those guys kind of takes hold of that role, or if they both take that role. If one of them becomes more of an off-ball guy, which would be AJ, and one of them's more of an on-ball guy, which would be Topic. But just kind of an embarrassment of riches for the Thunder to be adding Topic to this team.
Now let's also talk about Brooks Barnhizer. In the Vegas Summer League, he was actually 5th in steals. His shooting wasn't great, especially from 3. He shot just 15% from 3. He actually rebounded the ball really well. And I think what stood out to me in the way that Barnhizer plays, he's like a high-energy guy. And I think basketball IQ is really, really high, especially on the defensive end. I mean, not just the number of steals, but the number of deflections that he had. He kind of seemed like he was in multiple places at once. What were your thoughts on Barnhizer?
Yeah, I thought he looked like Summer League Caruso to me, or Summer League Kenrich Williams. You're exactly right. It's the defense, it's the hustle, it's the energy, it's the IQ. He just is everywhere. He just seems to make an impact on the game. And you're right, the shooting splits weren't great, and we knew that going into this. The reason the Thunder drafted him was not because of his shooting ability, but he can fill the stat sheet. it's not just the defense. I do think that he scored over 17 points per game in college. He finds other ways to score and impact the game besides the three-point shooting. If he were able to become a decent three-point shooter, well, then you really, really have something, because the defense is going to translate. Like all those steals, the blocks, the deflections, the rebounding is really impressive for a 6'6" guy because he has a 7-foot wingspan. So I think there's a lot of potential there. I think as a two-way guy, he's a guy that even as a rookie, because he's an older rookie and because all those things are true NBA skills that will translate, I think he can get rotation minutes early on, and I think Daignault will probably play him, even though this is a title team and even though he's a second-round two-way rookie, just like we saw last season with Dylan Jones. I think we will see Brooks Barnhizer, who I think is already a better player right now than Dylan Jones. I think we'll see him get some rotation minutes throughout the season.
And let's talk about A.J. Mitchell, who I think by all indications and all the reviews on Summer League was one of those players who looked like an NBA player out there among a bunch of guys trying to prove themselves.
Yeah, and I think that we've kind of taken this for granted just because we saw how good A.J. Mitchell was from the jump last season. But if you remember, this guy was a second-round rookie who earned those rotation minutes as a two-way player with a team that ended up winning the NBA title. From day one, he was in the rotation. It still becomes impressive. Like, this guy was coming back from injury. You know, he was on track, I think, to make an all-rookie team before he got hurt because he was making a winning impact with the best team in the NBA. Gets hurt, misses the second half of the season, comes back at the very end, plays sparingly in the playoffs. So I thought it was great to see him, one, look healthy again, to get those minutes and dominate those minutes. And for a guy who was a second-round rookie coming into what's going to be a sophomore season, to be able to dominate Summer League the way he did and to look, quote, too good for Summer League, that is incredibly encouraging to see that from A.J. Mitchell. I think we've just kind of taken him for granted because we're like, yeah, we know he's good. But when you remember, he's still really young. He missed half of his rookie season, and he was a second-round rookie.
Yeah, and there's just so much depth that this team is going to have next season. And, you know, as we were talking about those extensions, I mean, everybody, save for Dylan Jones, is coming back next season for the Thunder, and they're adding Sorber and Barnhizer on a two-way contract. So the team is absolutely stacked, and to see A.J. Mitchell show out, it is, as you said, an embarrassment of riches. And what it led to was the Thunder making it to the semifinals of the Las Vegas Summer League, led by primarily A.J. Mitchell. Now, Mitchell and Topic sat for that semifinal game, so we did not get a championship in Summer League. Are you disappointed?
I'm a little bummed out. I won't lie. Just because I was so ready to tweet that the Thunder are the first team in NBA history to win an NBA title and then a Summer League title back-to-back. It's never happened before. I did the research because I'm a nerd like that. Yeah, but here's the thing. I understand why they didn't play A.J. Mitchell and Topic. A.J. Mitchell obviously didn't have anything left to prove, and then Topic played all of Salt Lake and then played, all those games up until the playoffs. He took that second night of the back-to-back off in Vegas. But he hadn't played in 15 months like we talked about. He's not going to get much of a summer because the team went to a Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Then he had Summer League. So he needs to go back home, Serbia, spend some time with the family before he has to get back here for training camp. So I get it. And here's the other thing, John. Once I realized that the Charlotte Hornets, of course they haven't won an NBA title, but they haven't won anything. They'd never won any sort of title whatsoever, a division title even. They have never hung a single banner, Summer League, G League, anything. This is their very first championship or title in anything. I was like, okay, the Hornets needed a win. I'm happy for the Hornets. It would have been fun to see the Thunder win a title and then the Summer League, but good for Charlotte.
Well, that's very nice of you to feel good about what Charlotte accomplished, because that is probably going to be the high watermark for them this season.
I think you can take out probably.
Hate to be mean, but yeah. Well, the other thing that kind of came out of Summer League that I think everybody was buzzing about was the Thunder player who scored on the wrong basket, Eric Reynolds. How does that happen?
I think nerves, honestly. Like these guys, you got to remember, not all these guys are AJ Mitchell and Nikola Topic or Cooper Flagg. A lot of these guys are fighting for their NBA lives, for their NBA careers, or just trying to make an impression to land with even a G League team. And so I think you got to give a lot of grace to these guys. They're playing incredibly hard. And when you combine nerves and the pressure and playing incredibly hard, those things will happen. Like Eric Reynolds, he's played, thousands of basketball minutes in his career when you look at, between high school and, wherever his career has taken him up to this point. For a one-time score on the wrong basket, it's going to happen every once in a while. Obviously, it's embarrassing, I'm sure, for him. I just felt bad for him, quite honestly. Like, I know a lot of people are kind of making a meme about it or joking about it. It's like, I just feel bad for the guy.
Well, I'll give him credit. I mean, it was a layup. When I'm playing basketball, I'm just happy I make a layup. I'm not sure if I can care whether it's for my team or the other team. Making a layup is a pretty good thing.
And it's Summer League. It ultimately didn't make any sort of difference in any sort of outcome. So, don't worry about it, Eric. You're all good.
I agree. So let's go to the fun part, and let's revisit go ahead.
Real quick, by the way, I play hoops with John, and this guy, you're on track for a most improved OKC pickup hoops player for 2025, by the way. You've gone past the making layup stage. You're full blown hitting three stage now.
Well, I appreciate you saying that to the general public who don't get to witness my skills or lack thereof. But I'm not sure who's on the voting panel for that award, but I sure hope you are.
Oh, yeah, so you got a good shot at this.
You're the only person on the panel, maybe. That's where I have a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll get some credit here as we talk about the 25 statements made with extreme confidence that was published way back in October of 2024. We're going to run down each of these and let's see how you did. And we'll start with the very first one, that Shai would win MVP. And boy, you nailed that one. That was great. High five on that.
Thank you. I got to say, when I pulled this up, because I'm actually writing an article for this, which should be published in the next couple of days. I got to get it to Cray. When I pulled this article up and saw that was my first one, I was pretty pumped that I led with that one.
Yeah, well, and number two, I think you nailed this one too, that Mark Daignault would squint more times than Clint Eastwood did in his entire filmography. There was a lot of squinting.
There was a lot of squinting this year because here is the thing. Mark is known for his squinting, and I was like, this could be a potential title run if you're ever going to squint. You squint more during intense battles. And in a prolonged playoff run, there would be, a lot of squinting. So I felt pretty good about that. Yeah, I think I can consider that one a win, too.
Yeah. Now, the next one, number 3, Alex Caruso will start most games. I don't think you got this one.
Man, I blew this one. He didn't start a single game until the playoffs. And if memory serves, he just started one game in the playoffs. I believe it was the playoffs. This season has been so long. No, it wasn't the playoffs. It was no. I take that back. It wasn't the playoffs. It was one of those games where everybody was missing. They sat everybody, and I believe Caruso started one of those games, and it was just one. Look, going into the season, we knew that Shai, Dub, Chet, and Dort were the 4 starters, and then the big question mark was, will it be Hartenstein or will it be Caruso? And, of course, once everybody was healthy, it was mostly Hartenstein. But the twist, the Martin Daignault twist was it was – Cason Wallace that took that 5th starter spot when they could have gone Caruso or Cason, they went Cason. They really liked the spark that Caruso provided off of the bench, and they wanted to kind of keep his minutes low until the playoffs.
Yep, that's right. So moving on to number 4, Dylan Jones and AJ Mitchell will get rotation minutes this season. I'd say that was mostly right. So when AJ was healthy, he was regularly in the rotation. He was getting true rotation minutes. And I think even in games that mattered, at points where the game was still in doubt, Mark was still playing Dylan Jones some.
Yeah, I'm going to, and of course, I think we, again, take it for granted with A.J. Mitchell because we all realized he was in the rotation, but that was a big surprise when the season started and A.J. was getting those rotation minutes, and then, it happened again, and then everybody realized, like, wow, the second-round rookie is in the real rotation, and like you said, Dylan Jones did get minutes, here and there in real games, so yeah, I'm gonna count that as a win.
All right, number 5, I think heading into the season, there was a lot of hope that the Clippers would deliver the Thunder a high draft pick in the draft. That didn't happen. So how would you score that Oklahoma City will have a lottery pick via the Clippers in the 2025 NBA draft? Because there was no lottery pick.
I blew this one. This is the one I'm probably most bummed about. No, but credit goes to the Clippers because going into the season with the question mark surrounding Kawhi's, injury and how much time he would miss and how stacked the West was, it really looked like the Thunder could get a really good pick from the Clippers. But, James Harden, Zubac, Powell played so well. Then Kawhi came back and played so great. So I blew this one. The Thunder did end up getting the number 15 pick from the Heat. So they got close to a lottery pick from another team, which was from that Paul George, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander trade. So I kind of sort of almost got this right, but no, I didn't at all. I was completely wrong on this.
Number 6, I think this is a great prediction that you made, that Jang would get minutes as a small ball 5. That happened.
Yeah, it did. It did. I'm glad that you're kind of pumping me up for this one because when I read this, I was like, yeah, it did. It did happen. Us, his minutes kind of went, up and down. He got hurt, and all those things, but he did play some minutes as a small ball 5. I think this is a win, right?
Well, yeah, I'm giving you credit for this one. And it wasn't a ton of minutes, but especially when the team had all those injuries in the front court, he was getting some small ball 5 minutes. So, props to you for number 6. Number 7, maybe not out on the limb that number 6 was, but you predicted the Thunder would have 2 All-Stars. The Thunder had 2 All-Stars, although you said you had no idea whether the second one would be JDub or Chet. It did end up being JDub.
It did, and I do wonder, had Chet not, had that injury, and of course you don't want to change anything because ultimately what ended up happening was an NBA title, and you look like the butterfly effect or anything. But had he not gotten hurt, would Chet have been an All-Star? He was certainly on that trajectory. Could the Thunder have possibly had 3 All-Stars because they end up winning 68 games and maybe they win even more had Chet not got hurt? And JDub was certainly an All-Star player last year. So maybe they get 3 if Chet doesn't get hurt, or maybe Chet becomes that second All-Star and just edges out Dub. I don't know. But yeah, they did end up getting 2 All-Stars. I didn't know if it'd be Dub or Chet, but another successful prediction.
Yeah, so far so good. Number 8, Lou Dort will instigate a Mavs Twitter meltdown. I'm not sure how you score yourself on this one. I don't think it was Mavs Twitter, although Dort, especially through the playoffs, became hated by opposing fan bases.
He did. So I guess this would be like when I'm scoring this in my article, I'm going to give myself half a point because he did cause some meltdowns. I could not foresee Nico Harrison trading away Luka. And that was kind of like the setup for this prediction was because of the way that Lou Dort defended Luka Doncic in the playoffs, and I foresaw him defending Luka this year and then possibly in the playoffs this year. So nobody saw that coming. But if you just do some Lou Dort searches on Twitter, there will be a lot of meltdowns. It just won't be with the Mavs fan base. It'll be with the Grizzlies. It'll be with the Nuggets. It'll be with the Wolves, and it'll be with the Pacers.
Yeah, and I'll say I'm glad Dort's on our team and we don't have to play against him because, I can see a little bit of frustration, but he's that good of a defender that people are just, they don't know what to do. He is so physical as a defender. Now, number 9, I will give a lot of credit to this one because you even noted here that you were more confident about the statement before Ihart's injury, and then you had Chet's injury, and the Thunder just kind of went through it and still won 68 games. So number 9, great job on this prediction.
Thank you. And I do believe, I'm glad that I made this prediction after the Hartenstein injury news and stuck with it because I think it's very telling of this team. Very impressive. When you look back at the context of the season, not only did they win 68 games, one of the best seasons in NBA history, broke the point differential record, but remembering now that Hartenstein missed like the first 20-ish games of the season, that Chet missed such a huge chunk of the season, 3 months, that Caruso missed so many games, Dub missed quite a few games. When you look at the context of not only this team won 68, but they did it despite all these injuries, becomes even more impressive about this team.
Moving on to number 10, the Thunder will be top 10 in three-point attempts. Whew, you got that one by a very thin line. The Thunder were number 10 in three-point attempts this season.
Oh, man. Yeah. And I know the three-point shooting was up and down. My whole idea was like they were the number 1 three-point shooting team in percentage the year before, and I felt like there was going to be a concerted effort to bump up the volume, and they did bump up the volume, not quite to the point to where I thought, but just enough to make this another successful prediction.
Number 11, national broadcasters will still make the jokes about the two Jalens. I don't know how you gave yourself a score on this one. Did you get it right or did you get it wrong? I didn't feel like it was a thing.
I don't think it was as prevalent as it was before, but the idea was like at this point, everybody should know the difference. And I knew the team was going to be on national TV more than they were in the past. So it would give the broadcasters more opportunity. There was some of it, and there were still some like broadcast mistakes as far as it would be like JDub on the screen and they showed stats and they would spell it Jaylin. There was like some things like that. But I have to say, I think that they proved me wrong. This is more of a loss than a win, I believe.
Number 12, Trey Mann will be the most cheered for ex-Thunder player since Russell Westbrook. I don't think it ever peaked that way, but I think to this day, Trey still gets respect from the Oklahoma City fan base.
Yeah, and it was trending that way, I believe, before he got hurt. Trey he was playing so well with the Hornets the first part of the season. Then he got hurt, and he ended up missing the majority of the season, but Thunder fans were very excited. When he was kind of in talks for Sixth Man of the Year there for a little bit, and Thunder fans were very, very excited. And then he just ended up missing the rest of the season. But Trey's looked great when healthy with the Hornets, and I'm glad he got that contract extension with them.
Number 13, the JDub will double his three-point volume. He had 3.4 attempts per game in the prior season. This current season, it was 4.9, so it wasn't double, but there was a material increase in the number of three-point attempts.
Yeah, I would give this like a 0.5 on my score because he did. It was, I would say, 1.5 more threes per game is significant. Not quite to the level that I predicted, but it was nice to see JDub increase that three-point volume.
Yeah, and Chet, you predicted he would double his free throw volume. I think there's a typo in the actual article, but he did also attempt 3.4 free throws per game last season. It did go up to 4.2, so almost a full additional free throw per game, but again, not quite double. Partial credit for you on that one.
Yeah, I agree. I think partial credit. I got a little irresponsible with my predictions there, like by saying double. That was a little out there by going double, but they did both increase those significantly, which is the win.
That's right. That's a pretty big prediction there. Number 15. I think that could have been a pretty big prediction because there were some really good defenses headed into the season. I think everybody expected Boston, for example, to be a great defense. The Thunder were the number 1 defense by defensive rating and number 4 by opponent scoring. So I'm going to give you a check mark for this one.
Yeah, like I think in retrospect, everybody's like, yeah, of course the Thunder were the number one defense. But at the time, like you said, the Celtics, the Wolves, there were some great defenses heading into the season. I just felt like, man, swapping out Giddey for Caruso and then adding Hartenstein, it wasn't some big brain thing. We all knew that. But I don't think anyone expected this to be one of the best defenses of all time. I thought they would be a great defense, best in the NBA, but this is one of the best we've ever seen.
Relatedly, number 16, you predicted the Thunder would have 2 all-defense selections. You were right about that, but your candidates were a little bit off. So Dort was first-team all-defense, and you called him a candidate as well, behind Alex Caruso and Chet Holmgren. Now, of course, injuries may have definitely played a role in Chet not being an all-defense selection, but it was JDub who got that second selection.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't specify in the actual prediction, so I get this as a win, even though I was saying Caruso and Chet were the most likely. I think Chet would have 100% made all defense had he not been hurt. Of course, Dort looks like a no-brainer going forward. So glad to see him finally get that recognition that he's long deserved. But JDub, man, what a season. Truly defending 1 through 5, and he was rewarded with it, deservedly so, with this all-defensive selection. We hear all the time, oh, this NBA player can guard 1 through 5, but they don't really. JDub truly actually did guard 1 through 5 this season and at an elite level.
Number 17, I guess this one's for the fans. The barking will continue from the fans. There was less barking for sure by JDub on the court. Do you think there was less barking from the fans this season?
I think there was less barking overall, but yeah, kind of the point of this prediction was I think that the Thunder players themselves were going to kind of retire the barking for the most part, but the fans would continue the barking when JDub or J-Will did something kind of special. And I think we definitely saw that in the playoffs and in all the player intros. Every single time JDub was introduced, the fans barked. So I think this would count as a win.
All right, I'll give you credit for that. Number 18, Jalen Williams will star in Smile 3. Obviously, J-Will has the smile that lights up the entire arena. And I'm glad it was not a horror flick. It was a heartwarming tale. And not only did he provide great vibes, and maybe you picked Smile 3 for a reason, because he also got the most triple-doubles on the team this season.
Ooh, good call. Good way to wrap that around and bring that together. I like that. He did. It was, of course, all based on J-Dub's vibes, and those were still at an elite level, S tier, of course. But to see J-Will excel on the court when he got his minutes, and in those games where the Thunder rested their starters and they were still able to get wins, in large part because J-Will was like baby Jokic when he was out there starting, was so great to see for him. And I'm so glad that he got that contract extension and he's going to be in OKC for many more years.
Number 19, Aaron Wiggins will continue saving basketball. 100% you got this one. Wiggins definitely saved basketball. He saved the Thunder at multiple points this season, including with clutch moments in the playoffs. He had a 40-piece in the regular season. Aaron Wiggins did not mail it in after his contract.
100%, man. He took it to another level. So great. I remember that Knicks game in Oklahoma City. It was Aaron Wiggins in the fourth quarter. The Thunder were down pretty big, and he just made shot after shot after shot. He basically won them that game, and that was the Thunder's best stretch, I think, of the season. They beat the Knicks, the Celtics, the Cavs during that stretch. And then, like you said, in the playoffs, there was a couple of games where Aaron Wiggins absolutely saved the Thunder. So great to see him do it on such a big national, international spotlight.
Yeah, and I'm going to put number 20 as incomplete. You had injuries for both Chet and Wemby. We didn't really get to see the rivalry go to another level this season, but not because of a bad prediction, just because of bad luck.
Yeah, I agree. Incomplete, and as a matter of fact, I think I will reuse this one for the upcoming season because I think this is still going to come true, but it'll be next season when both hopefully are healthy all season and not this season.
Number 21, Isaiah Joe will hit at least 40% of his three-pointers. There was a stretch where Joe was struggling, and maybe this prediction was in doubt, despite you saying this was a layup. But he did. He did hit 40%. He had 41% this season. So check mark on that one.
There was that.
Good.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was just going to say, it did look, risky there for a while. I remember there was like a lot of chatter. People doubting Isaiah Joe and that contract extension because he wasn't, shooting like he normally does. But, man, he turned it up and ended up hitting that mark again.
Number 22, Cason Wallace will remain the most underrated player on the team. I think this one is exactly right. I mean, he became, I think, a huge fan favorite, and so he became less underrated among the fans as the season progressed. But I don't think anybody in the national media and opposing fan bases knew how critical and how good Cason Wallace was.
Agreed. And there was a reason why Mark Daignault, landed on him as the fifth starter when, either Hartenstein or Chet were out. Daignault knows how good Cason Wallace is, the two-way impact that he makes. And look, when the playoffs got tight, and they shortened the rotation. They still ended up playing Cason Wallace a lot of minutes. They kind of shortened it to 7 guys, and it's the 6 guys that everybody talks about with the Thunder: Shea, Dub, Chet, Dort, Caruso, Hartenstein. But Cason was that 7th guy. He was always in the rotation.
Now to number 23. I think this one is maybe kind of a dig at me too. Isaiah Hartenstein will return before Christian McCaffrey, so we don't really need to talk about that one. But Isaiah Hartenstein did come back maybe a little bit faster than people expected, and he made an immediate impact.
He did. I think there was some fear, especially after the Chet injury, that Hartenstein, because it was kind of an estimate of when Hartenstein would be back with this injury, and he beat that expectation and that estimate and came back and was huge from the jump.
Number 24, Sam Presti will win Executive of the Year. Sam Presti won Executive of the Year. What a call.
Thank you. When I look back, I said Shea MVP, I said 2 All-Stars, I said 60 wins, and I said Sam Presti Executive of the Year, kind of like the milestone achievements. I got all those, it seems like, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, well, and we'll finish with number 25. 50% credit. The Thunder did make the NBA Finals. Your last sentence in this paragraph says that on paper, OKC and Boston are the 2 best teams in the NBA. But, Boston, I wouldn't say was always viewed as the second best team in the NBA. But as far as being a playoff or finals team, you whiffed on that one.
I did whiff on the Celtics, so I think I only get, partial credit for this. But I did call the Thunder in the NBA Finals. I'm glad I stamped that and went with it. I felt like these were the 2 best teams. Obviously, it was wrong on the Celtics. Because even during the regular season, the Cavs were the better team in the East. I think we all expected the Celtics in the playoffs to turn it on. And I know Tatum got hurt, but I don't think they were winning that series against the Knicks even, before the Tatum injury. I think it was already decided. So I kind of whiffed on the Celtics.
Well, I think overall, and I should have been writing down how many you got right versus wrong, but you hit on quite a few, and you had some pretty bold predictions that ended up coming true. So I am looking forward to your more detailed breakdown on Daily Thunder of your 25 predictions revisited. And I'm excited for October to find out what you're going to predict next, because, you're a regular Nostradamus right now.
Yeah. I've kind of got some pressure now. And also because this team is coming off of a title, like the bold predictions I make, it feels like they need to get even more bold because this is a championship team now. So I'm going to try to find a way to ride the line between bold and reasonable and try to go back to back on these.
Well, again, that was fun, and that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Thunder podcast. I'm John Napier, host of the podcast, and he's Brandon Rahbar, Daily Thunder beat writer. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe to the Daily Thunder podcast on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you like what you hear, do us a favor and leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll be back in your feed soon.